Hi, everyone, and welcome to this next session on Dynamics 365 Business Central Copilot Demystified. Just a few notes here before we get started. Encourage you to ask questions. You can do that using the chat, and we will get back to you with answers to those questions either in the session or after the session. All of these sessions today are being recorded, and they will be made available to you following the event. And we're giving away some great prizes at the end of the day. All you need to do to get in the draw is fill out a post-session survey for your chance to win an Amazon gift card, an espresso virtual coffee machine, or a 12-month Wine of the Month subscription. My name is John. I lead our small to mid-sized business applications group at Quisitive. I have been working with the Dynamics platform for the last 20 years. I've seen a lot of advances in the technology, but this one is likely the most exciting. And I'm certainly excited to be here today to share this information with you. To set this up today, we're going to talk a little bit about AI and how it fits with Microsoft and Dynamics 365, specifically discuss the Business Central feature set in this presentation. We're going to talk about how you get access and availability to these features. We're going to spend most of the time in a demo, and then we'll share some information where you can learn more about it. So when we think about AI, it has some core components to it. You're going to see these as we go through the demonstration. You're going to see this come to life inside Business Central and how we use Copilot. First, natural language processing, which really means we can talk to Business Central the way we would talk to a colleague. And Copilot has the ability to understand and interpret the inquiries we're making and create accurate and personalized responses to them. It has the ability to recognize complex queries, and we've got some good examples of this today. It uses predictive analytics for things like anticipating customer needs and making suggestions for products and services, which is a really interesting application when you're thinking about an ERP. And it has the ability to create personalized recommendations using data and past behaviors. And certainly all of these are components that you're going to see today. Now, AI also has the ability to support voice commands, as well as the ability to be multilingual. For Dynamics 365 Business Central, we don't have a voice component in it yet. And today in preview, it is English only. So just to mention those two pieces off the top. Certainly Copilot is now integrated across the Microsoft stack. And so if you're using Microsoft applications, you're going to see Copilot showing up everywhere. It's in Microsoft 365, Office 365, as we've known it for many years. ERP systems, obviously Business Central, which we're here today to look at, but as well, it's in F&O if that's something that you're looking at as part of your cloud journey. And it's within our CRM application suite, which includes customer engagement, which is what it's labeled now, but really includes sales, customer insights, field service, customer service, as well as the Power Platform. So you are going to see Copilot everywhere in Microsoft, and it is a very compelling value proposition for our Microsoft platform. Now, the specific feature set that has been developed in Business Central, and again, these are in preview, and again, this is the first take. This is the early days. This is the entry point of AI in Business Central. So it's only going to get better from here, but there are some very compelling and useful functionality and a feature set that I think you're going to like as you see it today. First, help with fields. Traditionally in Business Central, you could hover over a field to learn more about it, but it wasn't always that helpful. It would kind of say, this is what the field is. And, it would oftentimes leave you thinking, okay, that tells me something, but not the whole picture. And so now Copilot is embedded in there, and it actually reaches out to Microsoft Learn and can pull back information to help understand the field. And I've actually been using this quite a bit over the last few weeks and found it very useful. Certainly bigger and potentially more exciting is the chat feature, where you can have a conversational chat with Business Central and ask it questions, and it's going to go back and answer them. It'll find records. It'll point you to useful references. So we'll show that and show you a bunch of questions that we can ask it, and we'll see how it responds. There's an interesting feature for marketing text generation. This is like creating product descriptions. And so it looks at an item and it looks at some of the attributes you've stored on your items, and it comes back with some really interesting product descriptions. And they can even be tailored to a tone, format, and length. So obviously, we'll show you that and see what you think of it. There's a Copilot for sales line assistance, and this helps us if we're creating a quote or an order or an invoice, and we want to perhaps ask the system to say, hey, suggest some items for us. And again, we've got some examples here we'll show you. It's used in automated bank rec, and to me, after all these years of ERP, right, and you think bank rec hasn't really changed that much. Well, this one's pretty compelling. As you know, Business Central has the ability to match transactions today. And oftentimes, it most of the time doesn't get all of them. It does pretty good on things like payments, but on deposits, it's often lacking the ability to match, because sometimes there's one big deposit and there's many individual, bank deposits making that up, or cash receipt transactions, making that up. So Copilot really helps here. We'll do a live, bank rec to show you some of this. And then there's a new feature, and I'm doing a presentation on this later today on the analysis capability on list views. So that itself is a new feature. And then Copilot has been built on top of that. And so this is really, really interesting because it allows us, to really create groups, line groups, pivots, filters, analysis views on top of your list view data, taking a static list view and really bringing it more to an analysis platform. And so I think you'll like that as we go through it. So with that, let me talk about a few other features that are coming. We're not going to show these today. First of all, there's a feature for automating workflows where Copilot can assist in creating Power Automate workflows for Business Central. I think this is one coming out in July, so we will look forward to seeing this. Again, early days, but we know it's coming. And then there's an e-invoice matching piece here. So there's a new functionality in Business Central related to electronic documents. And you can think of these as electronic documents. We may send out an electronic invoice to a customer. We may receive from vendors vendor invoices. So Copilot has been built into this to help with mapping the incoming invoices, for instance. So you could say, okay, I'm getting vendor invoices electronically, and Copilot is going to match those to purchase orders. Very, very interesting capability. And again, in development, we're going to see more come through things like inventory forecasting, late payment predictions, and cash flow forecasting. Now, right now, these features that are available are in preview mode. So to get access to them, you would in Business Central search for this page, Copilot and AI capabilities. And what you're going to do is activate the functionality that's there. I think the main one that's there for general availability is the marketing text, and the others that I'm going to show you today are in preview mode. So you're going to want to go here and you're going to want to activate this. Now, we have customers on the call from both the United States and Canada for sure. There may be customers from other areas like the Caribbean that are attending today. And, there's a couple of pieces here that are important to point out to bring everybody on the same page. First, this functionality is available only on Business Central's SaaS version or web version. So if you are one of the few clients who are using the on-premise version of Business Central, this is not available yet. And there's a special note for Canada here. So, Copilot uses Microsoft's Azure OpenAI service, and that is not available in all geographic regions. So if you're in Canada and you go to activate some of these functions, you're going to be prompted to accept the fact that it's going to use the US version of the OpenAI service. It doesn't expose all your business data, outside Canada, and Microsoft has very tight security and all around data security here as it relates to how this information is being used in the AI engine. But you will be prompted to accept that. So I just want to let everybody know who's in Canada that if you turn this on, expect to see that prompt. Next is availability. As I mentioned, all of these features are in preview. The automated bank reconciliation has been slotted for release in October. Some of these features are not yet available in Canada. And I put an interest, I drilled into this and put this in the slide because I thought it was interesting for those of us in Canada that it says it's due to limited language support. The feature isn't initially available to Canadian customers because it doesn't meet regulatory language compliance, which I can only assume means that it has to work in English and French for it to be available in Canada. So, that'll be coming very soon, and you're going to get a sense of what it looks like here today. And if you have questions on any of this, how to get it, the availability stuff, just reach out and let us know, and we'll give you more details on that. So with that in mind, what I'd like to do is flip into Business Central, and let's take a look at some of these features that are available. Okay, so let's log into Business Central and take a look at Copilot. Now, if Copilot is activated, you're going to see a Copilot icon up here on the top right. If you click on it, it's going to open up the Copilot chat pane. We're going to come back to that in just a moment. But to get started, let's talk about the first feature, which is Copilot Assisted Help with Fields. And certainly one of the ones that we look at a lot is on the item card. And what happens with respect to some of the fields that are on here. And, let me go take a look at just this Athens desk. And, there's a lot of information and a lot of settings on this card. So let's suppose I'm doing an assembly operation and I need to think about this assembly policy. So as I hover over it, you're still seeing the information that you always saw, right? The field says specifies which default order flow is used to supply this assembly item. Okay, sure. I don't really know exactly what that means. So you'll notice here on the just under there on the bottom right corner, there's Ask Copilot. Let's do it. Let's ask Copilot. And so it's going to throw open that chat panel that's on the side, and you're going to see that it's sitting here working on explaining the field name assembly policy. And it says it's getting some information. And very shortly, it's going to come back and tell us that, what this means. And so here's what it comes back with. It tells us in Business Central, the field name assembly policy refers to the setting on an item card that determines if the item is set up for assemble to order. When the assembly policy field contains assemble to order, it indicates the item will be assembled when included on a sales order, automatically creating an assembly order linked to the sales order. That is a lot more useful than specifies the default order flow that is used to supply this assembly item. And so what you're going to find, like what I find, is that I'm using this all the time now. In fact, every time I hover over a field to look at it, chances are I'm saying, ask Copilot, because it just gives us much better information. And you can see here, it actually provides a reference to where it found this. And you can go ahead and click on that, and it'll actually take you out right to the exact page where it found it, and you can read more. So again, we're right back here in Microsoft Learn. This is very, very useful information. So that's help with fields, and that's just, very preliminary. Now, in doing this, you'll notice that we have the chat panel open, and I'm just gonna, remove the prior inquiries. You can just click this button here on the left, and it cleans up the screen. So when we look at this chat panel, you'll see that, chat is really showing us some prompts. And this is how we talk to Business Central with Copilot. And there's some prompts here. There's some prompt guides down here. If you click on this, you can say things like find, look up a purchase order, find the latest sales invoice. You can ask it to explain things, explain a field, which we just did, right? Help me understand a certain process. You can ask it to guide us. Where do I set up this capability, or does Business Central support this type of functionality? So, let's do this one. Is there a keyboard shortcut for accessing actions on this page. Let's see what it says. Is there a keyboard shortcut for accessing actions on this page? And you'll notice, if you're paying careful attention here, that I made some spelling mistakes. And one of the beauties of Copilot is it'll still understand it, even if you make some spelling mistakes. And so it's come back quite quickly and said, hey, to access actions on this page in Business Central, you can use and press the Alt to show access keys for actions on the navigation menu. So that's how we get shortcuts, which is, interesting. Okay, that's a pretty basic query. Let's say we're on a certain page, a list view page, and we're setting filters, and we're looking at something in Business Central, and you're saying, well, I don't remember, how can I save filters? How do I save filters? So let's say, how do I save my filters for future use? And let's see what Copilot says for that. How do I save my filters for future use? It says it's almost done, and it comes back with an answer to save your filters for future use in Business Central. You can create a named view, and by choosing the save icon on the filter pane. So, that's interesting. If you're looking at something like a list view of vendors or items, you would remember that whenever you're looking at these list views that are in here, you do have these filters. And basically what it's saying is if you create a new filter, you can come in after you've done that. Let's just say, let's pick a different one here. Let's pick a filter by, I don't know, location code. And, if I wanted to always save this filter by main location, it's telling me I'd go ahead and save that. So, again, useful information, especially when you're learning the system. I can see this being, very useful. Let's get a little more sophisticated with what we ask Business Central to do. How about this one? Do we have any chairs in stock that are under $300? Because I've got a customer asking. Okay, do we have any chairs? Let's try to be correct here in a demo. Do we have any chairs in stock under $300? Let's see what Copilot has to bring back to us with this question. We're going to get a little more sophisticated with the questions we ask as we go forward here. So we will give it a second. It says it's digging into the records. It's finding the relevant data. It's probably going to say, I'm almost done. And it's going to bring us some results. So do we have any chairs in stock under $300? And it has found 11 chairs in stock under $300. It's actually suggested some options. It's given us a link to the items page. It's shown us the reference where it went. So if we were to go click on one of these, like the Paris guest chair in black, we can say, hey, we found an item under $300. And of course, using our great integrated Teams capability, I could quickly share this link to one of my colleagues who might be asking the question, or to somebody who's looking for it. So, or I could copy the link. Again, very useful feature. Okay, let's ask a couple more questions here to Copilot. Let's get something a little more sophisticated. What was the biggest invoice to Datum, which is, the Business Central sample data set? Datum's one of the customers. What was the biggest invoice to a Datum in the last year? And you're probably noticing as I make these questions, spelling mistakes included, that I'm just talking to the system the way I talk to somebody else. What was the biggest invoice to a Datum in the last year? Spelling mistake, the. It's not spelled HTE, spelled THE. That is my terrible typing skills. So we'll wait for this to come back. It says it's scanning some records. Let's see what result it brings us. We got two more examples once this is done. Almost done. Oh, said I couldn't find that. Okay. Yeah, that's strange. Usually it does. I'm going to try to refine that and say, hey, what was the biggest invoice to a Datum? Maybe in the last year, or the spelling mistake in the last year didn't work. So we'll check this out. And let me just go make sure. There it is. The biggest invoice to a Datum corporation was $128,000. You can view the details on the posted sales invoice page. And, as I think about it, I bet you that this $128,000 invoice, and the reason that it didn't find it on the first query is, because I said in the last year, and I forgot, I'm using the sample data in the Business Central demo database, which is based on like 2019 to 2021. So my fault. I should have said in the last 5 years, and it would have found it. There is nothing in the last year. That's why we probably don't have an invoice here for a datum in the last year, and that's why it didn't find anything the first time. But you're seeing how, actually you can just refine the query and go back and ask it, and it'll go back and find more. Now, let's say I'm looking for something, and I'm looking for specific transactions, and I'm curious where stuff is, right? So let's say, show me posted GL transactions. Show me posted GL transactions. And let's see what brings back when we ask Copilot to show us posted GL transactions. Getting the information, scanning, almost done. And hey, I found some posted general ledger transactions for you. So it shows us some samples, but more importantly, it says you can access the general ledger's entry page for more information and includes the link to it. So if I go click on that, I'm actually at the posted general ledger transaction page. And, I'm right in there in the GL entries. I just clicked on that accidentally on miscellaneous expenses too quick. So there we are in the general ledger page, and a very useful search capability here. Now, one last one. I was thinking about this. This could be really interesting, even for us as we go through new implementations, but I encourage all of you to think about this one. One of the things that's really important when we have ERPs is keeping our data set clean, right? And I was looking earlier today and I was thinking, okay, well, I was looking through items and, I was looking through my list view and I'm scanning this item category code. I see a lot of blanks in there, right? So I thought, well, what would Copilot be able to figure that out? So let's say this: show items without a category code. Let's see what it comes back with. And, this is kind of like just thinking about the commands I could dream up to ask Copilot, so I could sleep at night, thinking about our ERP and all the data being set up correctly, not missing things like category codes when we want to have them on all of our items. So it actually found 9 items without a category code. Now, of course, I could go to the list view and do a filter, but it's just really interesting. So what I wanted to point out here is just how you interact with chat, the things that you can ask it and what it will do. It is quite compelling. And I'm really excited to try this when we get it into some of our large customer environments. And you folks on the call who are in those situations know who you are. Just think about some of the complexity of the queries that you have and the setups that you have, and how this might really be able to help, especially in things like high volume environments. I think it's really useful. I think it's going to be super useful as we're training new users, as you onboard new employees into your organization. I can only, the name Copilot is a fantastic name for what it is, because it's something, once it's there, you very quickly find you're using it all the time. And so this is really a good start, I think. And this chat capability works very similar across the Dynamics platform, whether you're in one of the CRM applications or F&O, same sort of thing that you're seeing here. Okay, the next feature I want to talk about is the marketing text generation. And so let's think about this, marketing text generation. What is Copilot doing here? Well, let's go look at our item list, and we have things like the different chairs that we sell in the sample data and the sample data set we have from Microsoft here. So I'm going to look at the London swivel chair. And so I've got a London swivel chair. Let's look at this. Like, what does it say? It's a London swivel chair that's blue. It's got some, it's in the chair category. If I open the fact pane, I have a picture of it, and I've got some attributes. Okay. And now I've got this marketing text piece here that says, marketing text, and I could create a draft with Copilot. What's this? Let's click on it and find out. So it's looking at the London swivel chair in blue with very limited information, and it has just come up with a product description that could be a catalog description. If you're running an e-commerce site, you could picture this being ported out to the Shopify store or another e-commerce platform. Look at this. Turn your workspace into a haven with the London swivel chair, a breath of fresh blue air that will elevate your productivity to new heights. And then it goes into all this functionality crafted with the utmost care, and it gives you the dimensions. It's red from down here. You can see it's included generous dimensions. It's swivel feature, allowing you to move freely and effortlessly throughout your workspace. This is pretty cool, but it gets better. If you look at this, you have the ability to change the tone. So right now we're on inspiring. Let's just change this to creative and watch it regenerate. And so creative changed all of the text. Now it's get a spin on productivity with the London swivel chair. The blues have never been this comfortable. Okay, let's just go try one that is casual. Let's see what casual does. And so it changed the tone again. Get ready to spin your way to productivity with the London swivel chair, the perfect blend of comfort and style for your office space. Now, you can change the format as well. You could have it as a tagline. You could have a paragraph, tagline and paragraph, or you could have it brief. Let's see what brief does. Okay, introducing the London swivel chair in blue color. Key points about the office chair, and here it is. I like the tagline and paragraph, so we'll go back there. But let's go to emphasis, and let's change the emphasis now to reliability. And we're going to regenerate. All right. Turn your workday around with the London swivel chair, the reliable blue oasis that will keep you comfortable and productive. So, at first glance, you think, am I actually going to use this? But the more you get into it and you start looking at it, you realize very quickly that, hey, I probably can't write a product description nearly as good as what Copilot just did for me. And so I found this was really interesting. We actually are working with, very strangely, we're working with some customers who are in the office furniture industry. So if they're on this call, I thought you would all get a kick out of this. And that's why, this is why I use this example today. Okay, let's talk about our next feature that's important here, which is sales line suggestions. And, this is a really interesting one as well. So let's suppose we're doing some quotes. And I'm going to create a new quote here. Let's go create this quote. Let's pick the customer is going to be Trey Research. And we're going to send out a quote to Trey Research. I'm going to turn off the fact pane over here for now. So normally I would come through, I'd start entering line items here, enter the quantity, enter the price, etc., to build out a quote. And this would be the same process for building an order and invoice, as all of you know who use this functionality. Now you've got Copilot here, and you can start a Copilot prompt action, it says, and this is to suggest sales lines. And so I'm going to go ahead and just open this up. And really what you've got here is some prompts that tell us we can, if you click on the prompt guide, you could copy this from an order or an invoice or from the last invoice, and you can add line items, with specific quantities and descriptions here. So let's just start with a very basic one. Let's start with, copy from the last invoice. So if I click copy from the last invoice and just say generate, let's see what Copilot's going to suggest for us. Well, it looks like the last invoice to Trey Research, which was in 2021, 2021, was for an Athens desk for 5 units. Now notice here, I can actually click on this if I want to look at that invoice, and it actually takes me to the posted sales invoice and shows it to me. Love this. And then, if I want to use this, I'm going to say, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and insert this. Now, one thing that is interesting is, right now our view is lines. You can actually put in lines in confidence, and it'll actually show you Copilot's confidence level in finding this. And actually, I think that'll come in the next example. So I'll just go ahead and insert that. It processes it. It's added it. Now let's think about adding more lines. And so let me go suggest some more sales lines. But on this one, what I'm going to do is I'll go to our prompt guide again, and I'm going to say, rather than type, I'm just going to say, let's copy this from an invoice. And in this case, I'm just going to put in 3032, and I'm going to click generate. So copy from invoice 3032. And, in here, here's another thing that I love about this, right? I didn't have this whole invoice number, which is PS-INV 10, then 3032. I just said, hey, copy from invoice 3032. And it knew to go out and find the invoice number that had 3032 in it for Trey Research and find what items were on it, and then come in and add this. So I'm going to see if I can get the lines in confidence in this one. It may again be the next feature set. Looks like it is. We'll go ahead and insert that. And we go ahead and add that in. Okay. So let's expand this a little bit. Let's suppose that when we're asking it to find us, items from a specific, prior invoice, it goes out and does it. But let's make the ask a little bit more vague. Okay, let's just say I want to do a quote for Trey Research, and I want you to find me a chair and table. Okay, and so I'll go generate this, and let's see what it comes back with now. That was a very generic ask. Just find me a chair and table because Trey Research is asking for one. And again, maybe that's not the most realistic ask when you're in this scenario, but it's certainly going to give you a flavor as to how Copilot works and what it's doing here. So we'll give it a second or two, and it's going to come back and tell us, hey, these are the suggested lines that I have, and I don't know why I'm not getting lines in confidence here, but usually what it'll do is it'll tell us a little bit more about it, and we'll see if we can get that to pop up. So the London swivel chair and the Antwerp conference table is what it actually brought back when I said, look for items matching chair and table. I've just changed the view here to say, show me your confidence level when you bring that back with me. And we'll give it a second or two. And now you can actually see, hey, it actually found these with high confidence, and it had looked for the terms in the search, chair and table. Okay, so now I feel pretty good, and I can say, well, I'm going to insert those. Hey, that's great. All right, so, we have a quote done. Now, let's suppose that, that quote's complete. We'll leave it there. We got another new quote that came in. And, this time, we'll make this one for Alpine Ski House, and we're going to get started. This one, I'm going to do something interesting for you. Okay. Let's suppose I got an email from somebody, and I'm just going to copy paste the email that I have in here. We're going to see what Copilot does with this. So I've got an email that says, Dear John, thanks for the help with the office setup. I like the products you're suggesting. I would like to add more products to my next order. Can you give me a quote for 25 office, blue chairs and 25 desks? Thanks, Bob. Okay. That was the email I got from Bob. Let's send it to Copilot and see what it comes up with. So it's looking for items matching office chair and desk, and it is very shortly going to come back and tell us a result, and I think you'll all be impressed. Give it a second or two. It's looking. There we go. And so, it has actually come back and said, it's repeated up here what I had. It allows me to go in and change the prompt if I want to. right? And again, I could put in that I want to see the lines in confidence when I generate, but it's gone and interpreted the email. And I think this, again, when you think about this natural language processing, that is, the foundation of AI. You saw it first in chat. Now you're seeing it here. This is really, 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 just mind blowing that it can actually understand this. And you start to think about, much more complex ways of asking it to find, find order patterns or find a large number of items for a specific quote. It's really impressive. And so it is, it comes back and tells me its confidence level. It's high. It searched for an office chair in blue and a desk. I could insert those and, hey, my quote is complete and I can send this out and, print it and send it off to Bob and, he'll have his quotes. So, I think some pretty compelling functionality here for just the initial stage of Copilot. All right, there's two more items I want to show, and just keeping my eye on time here. I know I'm probably going to go over a little bit, but these are very important. So let's talk next about bank rec. And so I've got an environment stood up here with a bank reconciliation, and let me go to bank account reconciliation. And you guys know the bank rec story. You're going to create a bank rec. It's going to come in. It's going to show you what's in Business Central. You're going to have some bank statement lines that minimally, I hope we can import for you from a bank statement. If you want to, you can do this two ways. You can come in and import your bank statement, and then you can come and say, I want to reconcile with Copilot. Or you can do both steps at once, which is what I like to do. I just come here and say reconcile. So I'm going to reconcile my checking account. It's asking me to import some transaction data. And I'm going to go ahead and just quickly find that. And we will bring that in. It's a bank statement file here that we're going to use. I'll reconcile it on this date because, again, I'm in a demonstration system, and I'm just going to click generate. Okay, and when I do, what's happening is Business Central is doing two things. One is it's reading the content of the file, and number two is it's running two scenarios of matching. First, it tries to use Business Central's current bank reconciliation matching feature called auto match. And when you look at this, it says using Business Central's feature, it actually matched none of the lines. But using Copilot, it got 100% match. And this is really great because it shows you right in the window what it's proposing as the matches, right? And you could look through all of these. This is the one here that I think is the most impressive. That is the traditional age-old problem with, with a ton of cash receipts getting bundled into one bank deposit. And then so you go to the bank with this one bank deposit, yet in the ERP and Business Central, you got just a ton of cash receipts making it up. And so what this is saying is, look, we applied this to multiple entities, drill down to see, and you can go back to these and, see who they were for and the amounts and things like that. It's matched those two against these, these two cash receipts from School of Fine Art and Trade Research. And so, yeah, it's pretty compelling, right? Like it really is. I got a 0 match on Business Central and 100% match by using Copilot. Copilot swooped in as the secondary matching. And I can either discard this if I wanted to run it again, or I can still go ahead and say, keep it. If I go ahead and say, keep it, I'll go ahead and just say, do you want to open it now? And now when I open that window, you can actually see that, hey, here's the bank statement lines and here's the lines that were applied against it. And again, over here, you've got your transactions. So, just very useful. And obviously, to finish this off, I would go ahead and just post this. I will mention that on the bank reconciliation, if it finds something in the bank statement that's not in Business Central, Copilot will actually recommend the GL posting for it as well. So again, this is a strong feature. I think this one could save people a lot of time. And I am really looking forward to seeing this one in production in some of our customers that have an absolute ton of transactions going through these bank accounts. I think this is going to be immensely helpful, and it's going to save a ton of time. So Stay tuned for this one. Remember, this one's general availability comes out in October. Okay, I'm a minute over here, so you can tell I'm excited about this, but let me just go to one last feature. And the last feature I want to talk about is the analysis feature. And the new analysis feature is something that's available, again, on all of the list views in Business Central. So when we have these list views, like items, for instance, that you have here, you can now run analysis on this. You can click this button and you can actually start to do row groups and pivots in here. And if you want to learn more about this, come to my session later today. It's like a quick dive into analysis, but it really does cover row grouping and pivots and some of the things we're doing there. Let's just go back and just say we're not doing any of that. We have Copilot here as well. So let's say we want Copilot to help us analyze this list. I'm in the wrong environment. Let me cut back to the other one that has it activated. Sorry about that. We'll go to Copilot, go back to the items, and we'll go to this list. So we want Copilot to help us with this list. So what do we want to do here? Let's say, very simply, let's show items grouped by type and unit of measure. All right, generate. Show items grouped by type and unit of measure. Let's wait. Let's see what analysis Copilot is going to bring us. It's preparing the analysis tab, it says. Takes a few seconds to generate, and it is going to come back and show us the result that we're asking for. I'm confident in it. And here it is. We have got a view that now shows us items grouped by type and unit of measure. So if I scroll down, I've got item types of non-inventory, inventory, and service, and I can see how they're grouped by their units of measure, and I can drill down and see them. So just an example of Copilot doing this. At this point, I can either keep this or discard it. If I keep it, it's going to save it up here as an analysis view. It'll always be available to me when I come back to it. I'm going to go ahead and discard this, and we'll do one more example. Let me go find the customer ledger entries. I could have asked Copilot to do that, but I won't. I'll just quickly go to the page for customer ledger entries. Okay, I've got all our customer ledger entries here. Now, this is a much bigger data set, as you can appreciate, right? It's got obviously all the invoices and payments to the customer, any credit notes, et cetera, in here. And what I want to do with this one is I'm going to go to Copilot, and I'm going to say analyze list, because that's what the feature is called. And I'm going to say to Copilot, show all remaining amounts. Show all remaining amounts by customer. So we're taking this list, which is just the details, and saying generate and show me all remaining amounts by customer. Okay, let's see what it says. It's going to go through and do its grouping. It's going to bring us back. And now we've got the remaining amounts grouped by customer. Okay. And if I scroll down, I can see that. But when I'm looking at the analysis, I'm looking at it and I think, you know what, there's a few more pieces I want to add here. So I can actually add more details about the specific analysis that we started. So maybe what I'll do is ask it to add the invoice number. And we'll add the invoice number and let's see what it does now. It is going through the analysis and it's updating it. And it'll take a second or two. And now when we scroll down, look at this, we've got the document number included in it. So you can kind of get a sense when you start to play with this, like you could just, honestly, you can play with it for hours on end. It is really, really, really interesting and really powerful. I think this is going to be, I think it's a huge advance of what we have right now. I could only imagine where we're going to be 5 to 10 years from now with this technology. Some of the things that we're getting into in the next generation of this, the things like the matching you saw in the bank rec, the fact that when we start integrating documents and we're starting to match those using AI, it is really, really cool. So hopefully today, this gives you a bit of a view of the practical use of AI and how it's going to, be very, very helpful in Business Central, but also this is foundational level and gives you a bit of a view that, there's only more to come, which I think is great. So with that in mind, let me just wrap this up and say that if you want to learn more information about Copilot in Business Central, the information right now, the best place to go is Microsoft Learn. And there is a lot of details here on these features. So encourage you to check that out. There's release videos that are on YouTube from, I think, 2 months ago or something, from the preview release from Microsoft. That's another source of information if you want to take a look at it. And with that, if there's any further questions you have, I encourage you just to reach out to us and let us know. I want to thank you for taking the time today to participate in this. Reminder to fill out the session survey, because there's some great prizes there that I'm sure you all want a chance to win. Thanks again, and enjoy the rest of the sessions today.